everyone. We are back once again, and we are getting used to not driving again, unfortunately. And because of that, our cars are kind of having a hard time. We are finding once again that batteries are down, hoses are loose or cracked, water levels are low. And because this happened to us personally, and my car is now stuck for 3 weeks waiting for a part, we're going to discuss it and we're going to tell you what you need to check before you go back out on the road and get into your cars. And for that, we're going to start off with the people that know more about this than I do. Nix, go.
Okay, so like when we were discussing it the other day, Francis actually started with like a really good principles on what to consider, and because of that, we have steps on what to do if you leave your car unused for extended period of time. So Francis, what were the things that you mentioned?
Well, first up, what happens when you don't use your car, let's say for a month or even for unextended periods of time? The battery will get will cease to work. You won't be able to start your car,
Wait.
and
Before we start, what kind of time period are we looking at? Like,
Yeah, what's the
what
minimum?
is long?
It's 2 weeks,
Mm,
long
Yeah,
or
2 weeks,
yeah.
3 weeks, a month,
well,
2 months.
as far as the battery is concerned, it depends on the condition of your battery. Some batteries
Mm.
can last for a month. Some batteries can last for like 2 weeks only. So it really depends on the
uh,
condition of your battery.
Two
Is it the new
weeks?
one?
yeah,
Really?
Yeah, if you have
Buy
an
me
old,
you'll
yeah,
be
If it's
surprised. You'll
yeah. I
be
had an old
surprised.
battery one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
2 weeks is pretty fair. So I guess it's a safe
Uh oh.
assumption. 2 weeks.
I better go
Okay.
No,
check
well,
on
it all
some
depends
cars.
on the condition of
Start
your
your car,
battery.
Chris.
yeah.
Yeah,
No, no.
it depends.
Uh, Chris, throw out there if you need to borrow my battery tender, Nax. I have at home. I can drop it off. No, okay, but like what Francis said, one of the things that will deteriorate if you neglect it is the battery. So for
Mm.
a good battery, it should last a month. For a used battery for like years, for like 2 years, 2 weeks, and then it'll be dead.
Actually, that's
And
true.
that's mm,
I remember before when, I know my brother he left his car. He went to Singapore. He'd always tell me, start it at least every other day,
mm,
or just to keep it running. And
yeah, that's the old school way of like keeping it healthy.
well,
But
yeah, that was a
there,
Galant
mm,
GTI, so old
mm,
school car.
mm, yeah. So but
Yeah.
nowadays you can actually get battery chargers and battery tenders. So like one of them's like C-Tech, and then there are others out there. So just make sure, just check like what you're getting, make and follow instructions. You have different instructions.
Yeah,
I
that's
have a
the proper
question.
solution to prolong your battery. The
Yeah.
Uh,
battery tenders with swap. It's also no, it's a no-brainer. It's fail-safe. You can even touch the positive and negative terminals. It won't
Yeah, they have
short.
anti-sparks. They have
Yeah, it's that
anti-sparks.
it's that simple really.
Oh, you have a question?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, would the make of the car make a difference? For example, would it be hard? Would it be more susceptible for European cars than Japanese cars,
Ah, no.
or no?
Mhm.
Doesn't really make
more
a
on the
difference.
more on the brand of the like really good
Battery.
battery brands
Battery,
will last longer. Yeah,
2 weeks
more on the
longer.
Okay.
battery.
No, never mind.
I'm
But
going to
oh
say
yeah,
one thing. I'm going to say one thing about this is that understand that if you have an older car, there can be differences. For
Yes.
example, uh, something that does happen with our NA Miatas that have been around for 20 years is that we have problems when we try to jumpstart them. So we
oh
do
okay.
not jumpstart them.
Mm,
Okay,
mm.
so be aware that we're talking about newer cars that are daily drivers for something which is approaching collectible age.
Mm.
Be very careful. Okay.
Okay, that's a good note. That's a good note. And then and like before we go to the next topic, quick lang. For those with start stop cars, you have to make sure that your battery tender can tend to those cars.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
special kind of battery, a deep
yeah,
cycle battery.
yeah. Mm-hmm,
Yes, there are
exactly.
issues with that because uh, there. Well, and the people, let's say, if you go to, let's say, Motorlight and they deliver a battery, they kind of know that already. But there is a way to make sure you're doing the right thing and have the right equipment because
The
these start-stop
sequence.
systems,
Yeah.
yeah, they have trickles that and memories that have to be held. Otherwise, you have even more problems than you started with.
No, even
Yes.
But thank you.
The Subaru Forester. We have a 2016 Subaru Forester. When I changed the battery, the guy from Motolite advised me, "Oh, sir, don't start it at once. You have to click to the on position 3 times before starting it. Otherwise, the computer will, fail to reset and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, like some Fords. Fords are prone for that.
Yeah,
When you
yeah,
change the
they
battery,
are. They
once
are.
you put in the new battery, there's a check engine. So you have to
Yes.
go to
Yeah.
the casa
Oh.
to have it. You need to go
Well,
to the
Have
we're
it
used to
house.
removed.
Ford check engines, so that's okay.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
next.
So
What's the
going to
next
the
thing?
next going to the next one. And actually, I do this first thing in the morning when I use up before I use the car first thing in the morning. But also for leaving it prolonged, check underneath the car for any sign of leaks. Because usually within at least like an overnight's worth, if there's any leak, it's gonna be seen underneath the car.
Mm,
Learn that from JP Toason. Good tip. Really good tip.
Not to be confused with the actual
aircon. Yeah,
aircon
Oh yeah, yeah,
condensation,
the
that's different.
condensation.
That's different. Yeah.
Yeah.
which freaks out a lot of people sometimes.
Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, that's so true. I remember in one of our videos we got that comment. What's that leaking? Oh, that's the condensation.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
like quick look underneath. If you see any and actually that's also why fluids have color coordination.
Correct.
Like that's
Mm,
why coolants are pink or green because when you look underneath and you see that particular color, at least you know right away. Oh, that's a coolant leak, or oh, that's a brake fluid
oil.
leak.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
so check underneath the car. Depending on the color, like that's your leak.
Hmm. And one
Which
thing to note.
relates.
Sorry. One thing to note is that these leaks may not happen when the car is sitting. So don't rely just on checking under the car. Check your fluids, not maybe every day, but every week or so, because
Mm,
you could have a case where there's this is what happened to me. There is a leak in the power steering hose that only comes on when there's pressure. So I see
Oh,
no
that's a good point.
leaks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
I see
Okay.
no leaks.
Yeah.
And here's another thing: if you don't clean your engine bay, you're going to see leaks because you're going to see them on the dust, right?
Mm,
So I saw no leaks on the floor. I saw no leaks in my engine bay, but I would have to top up my power steering fluid every drive, which
mm.
meant that there was
Oh,
a leak
Yeah.
coming
There's a
out,
leak.
leak.
probably in a gaseous
Yep.
state,
Mm.
that just I couldn't find.
And
And
what
now the
was
car
that?
is laid up for 3 weeks waiting
Was
for
the
a single
steering
part.
heavier or something?
Yes, completely. And you could hear the darn
Oh
thing.
wow.
Yeah.
Oh
Okay.
wow. Yeah,
So
and
there.
quick segue. That's why when buying a second-hand car, I like dirty engines because you can see those signs.
Yes,
Okay.
very true.
So in relation to that, the next thing, like if there are no leaks, is number three, check belts and hoses for any signs of wear and tear. So
Mm.
Francis, explain
Yeah,
like why.
since you don't use your car that much, I mean, these things, the rubber parts can get brittle over time. This is why you also have to check not just the hoses but the belts as well. You could use a
Mhm.
LED flashlight and really look for cracks. Some cracks are really small, so you have to really look that
Like look
closely.
closely.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
flashlight. So you'll need a flashlight for that. Okay, yeah, that makes
Yes.
sense.
Even the phone flashlight will work.
Okay, so at this point your engine's open. So while you're looking at the coolants, while you're looking at the belts and hoses,
Fluid.
good time to also to check the fluids. So like what Carl said, just because there's nothing underneath doesn't mean that what's
There-
above is clear. You have to check
Yeah. There,
also.
there are no leaks. Yep.
Yeah.
Correct.
So dipstick, visually check like the coolant, the reservoir, the brake fluid, power steering, check all those stuff. And while you have the engine bay open, this may sound weird, but also check for animals and nests.
Oh yeah. No, no,
Oh,
that's true.
oh, that's happened to me.
Yeah.
Uh, so the first ECQ last year, the car was parked here in the garage for like 3 weeks or a month. That it didn't move at all. There were kittens inside,
Mm.
and so
Oh
I
my
drove from
god.
here.
Yeah.
I drove
It's
from
happened a lot to
Katipunan
us.
to Makati, and there was a kitten parked in the
Oh,
in the
oh,
office
He
parking
hitched
lot.
a
oh my
ride.
god.
It hitched the
Oh,
ride. So, but yeah,
Sure.
like, at least not like nothing bad happened because my friend something bad happened. Like it involved the engine cleanup after.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
My grandfather also. I
Yeah.
remember my mom telling
Oh.
me that he a kitten got caught in the fan, I think, or something. So,
Yeah, but that also relates to like checking on the hoses, the belts, because
Yeah,
sometimes they chew on those things. So
Yeah.
Yeah, a
they
lot
all
of people
correlate.
also complain about rats, chewing up
Yes,
electrical
yes,
Yeah.
wires and stuff.
electrical
completely.
Yeah,
wires.
correct,
yeah.
Yes.
correct.
That's why there's a
I
rat
do.
spray. There's a rat spray on the market. You spray it on the hoses, the
Oh,
wires to
Ah,
prevent
okay.
Ah,
rats
To
it's
from.
to
car
prevent them
friendly.
from
does it
Yeah,
to
yeah.
Okay.
repel
It's
them
really meant
from
for no.
does
Yeah,
it
to
does it
repel.
also work for other animals?
I'm not sure.
No, but you know what? I don't know why rats and electricals go hand in hand in this topic. I don't know if there's a science to it or
No,
I don't
because
know.
you can gnaw at the hoses.
Mm.
no, but like electricals in general is related to rats. Like I don't hear like cats and electricals, more in the rats and electrical. I don't know if there's like a
I think
It's
science
not
to it.
part of their
cats.
diet.
Yeah,
Yes,
the
no,
cats
they
just
really
like the warmth.
and we're seeing it a
Looking for
lot. We're
iron.
seeing it a lot now during the pandemic. Everyone's complaining about it because all of a sudden you have this dark place that they can get into,
Yes.
Yeah.
and then basically they can gnaw on and consume the electrical coverings.
Mm.
So
Yes.
there.
Okay, so I guess now that you have like you've done all this like checking, this is the part I think Francis you can already start the car. What would you
Check the
say?
tires first.
Yeah.
While you're outside the car, why not check the
Ah, yeah,
tires first?
just check the tires first, because
Because
especially if
that's the
you leave
next
it
thing.
long. Yeah,
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
especially if you leave it really long.
If you have a tire
Mhm.
pressure
The flat
gauge, then
they
check
have a
the
flat spot.
pressures. Yeah.
So yeah, so at this point, like I guess before starting the car, inflate your tires if you can, and if you can't, that's where I guess where you start the car and drive slowly and safely to the nearest gas station to inflate your tires to specification.
Yeah.
And then you also mentioned, Francis, the window channels. About the window channels?
Yeah, because if you like leave your car for a month, for a year, just imagine the windows just sitting there on the channels. You have moisture, condensation, and stuff. And most of
Mhm.
the time, these channels will harden over time, which is why you need to spray them with a silicone spray, and then try to move
Ah,
it up and
okay.
down. Yeah,
Mm.
that's the thing there. Spraying it with
Silicone
silicone
spray.
spray. Yeah,
So they have a use.
yeah, they
I
have a
never
use
would
Hmm.
have thought of
actually.
that.
Yeah, use silicone spray on the
I'm gonna go
channels,
to
and
all
then you
my
try.
cars later.
Yeah, yeah, do that. It's also good for rubber. The rubber,
Yeah,
uh,
actually,
the door
silicone spray. For
moldings,
example,
even
mm,
yeah, even the
I
wiper blades.
remember. Yeah, like for example, you have brittle rubber. You douse it with silicone spray. That's why I have
Yeah,
it with
exactly.
silicone
Yeah.
spray. It inflates. It gets back to good condition.
So you have
Yes,
one.
I do.
Oh,
I do.
use
I
it
do
for
have
the no
silicone
window
spray.
channels. Use it for the window channels.
Time to finish it later.
But you have a
Frog
new truck
lube.
anyway.
Frog, yeah, actually, frog lube should work too because it's there's no petrol. The one you want to go against is petroleum based lubricants because
Yeah,
that will destroy rubber.
yes, yes, yes,
Mm.
exactly. That's why you use silicone spray for that.
Or frog
Okay.
lube in this case. Okay, so now that's that. Warm up the engine, let the thing circulate. Don't like rev the car. Uh, yeah. What's this again?
Yeah, to
So
bring
okay,
everything up
going
to
back to
temperature, so that the
oh,
moisture and the fluids, will evaporate. Then you can start driving the car.
okay, yeah. And then yeah, so if you haven't filled up your tires yet, that's the please go to the nearest gas station slowly and fill up the air tire. The air with fill up the tire with air to specification. That was a mouthful. Okay,
Oh, there's
but
another thing.
Francis. Yes,
Wait, there was another thing
yes.
that I just realized. Clean all of your windows and mirrors and your backup camera.
Mm.
Oh, the backup
Wipe
camera. That's
just
right.
yeah, because if let's say you're driving this car out and it looks fine, then all of a sudden you get hit with glare. Not just the outside, but even the inside of the window can develop a film that if a beam hits it, it can kind of blind you, or the sunlight hits it in the wrong way. So just make sure, kind of don't forget to clean all that, including the backup camera.
Yeah, and the front
Yeah.
windshield, like with all the oils and like once light
Yeah,
hits, it's gonna. That's
yeah.
true. That's so
That happened
true.
to me the other day, and I was like, couldn't see a thing.
I need to clean my window. Ah.
This is where car
Okay.
covers come in handy. You know, if you're going to store your car
Yes.
or not use it for a long period of time, you invest in a good quality car cover.
Oh yeah.
Which by the way, we're gonna do an episode on soon.
Okay?
Car
On how, 'cause
covers?
actually,
Hey.
I had
Covers.
yes, because I had to put one on, and I'm like, oh my god, I haven't done this in so long to anything other than a little Miata, and I had to put it on my wagon. We gotta teach people how to do this correctly.
Oh, but yeah.
That's one of
If
our-
you don't do it correctly,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
you can scratch your car.
Yeah.
You scratch
And
it,
removing it
you
properly
end up
also.
dragging it on the ground.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes.
Sometimes you get the
Oh.
wrong. You buy a car cover that's bad. The car cover that's bad for the outside, or that's
Yeah.
not breathable on the inside, or whatever. You know,
Oh,
it's,
that
it's
would be
not a
nice.
simple thing. Yeah.
Actually,
I'm interested for that show.
Actually, it's the pulling off the car cover that's kind of tricky, which is why you have to do something, a methodical thing, as to how you take it off, so you can put it back on easily as well.
Yes.
try to-
Yes.
So it's not
Yeah.
like the movies the
No, you just no, the unveiling thing. No.
No.
You have to
no.
take it
failed
off
us yet
properly,
again.
so you
Yeah.
can put it back properly again.
Yeah.
But
And
the way,
one
the
thing to
way
note.
they do it in Fast and the Furious though, it's so cool.
Yeah, well, we're the fast and the lost. But no. One thing, and when you buy the darn thing, it's packed for production, right? You can't automatically pull that out and put it on your car. It's not set up for that. You don't know where the front is. You don't know where the back is. The straps aren't always where you think they're gonna go. You may or may not have if it's a purpose-built cover like for the Miata, you're gonna have mirror pockets. But for most cars, you won't because it's generic. So you got to remember that. One thing I learned: put your mirrors in.
Yeah, fold it.
Makes things a lot easier.
Or fold the
It's true.
front first to the roof, and then fold the rear to the roof, the middle of the roof.
That's
and then you
true.
start folding it.
Unfolding
towards the-
unfolding it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can also put it back
Okay.
the same way you took it off. Something like that.
Okay,
Makes
like
it easier.
reverse
Yeah.
it. Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. Okay,
All
so
things I
now
should
that
have
we're in the
known
topic,
last week.
yeah. Now that we're in the topic of car covers, let's for the viewers out there, the things to give you maximum good experience and leaving your car for a long time. So especially if you know you're not going to be using your car for a while, these are the tips that we are giving to make the experience better. Francis, what's the first thing you should do? Like if you plan to leave your car for a long time.
If you plan to leave your car for a long time, have it washed properly before stowing it away. So the chances of attracting any insects or even animals towards the engine bay will be kept to a minimum. And then it also adds that layer of protection to your paint and the interior if you're not going to use it for a long period of time.
Yeah.
Which is why you should also invest in this cheap humidifiers you see at stores. Put them
Yeah.
inside your car, di ba?
I always
The
have
humidi-
one in my car. So,
Yeah, to prevent
yeah.
molds from building up for the steering wheel and stuff.
And you'll be surprised, those things can like if you use your car frequently, they last like 2 weeks only for the big one.
Yeah, they turn to water,
And then-
right?
Yeah. So like that's it's a good like it's a small price to pay for a good investment to keep your interior like not moldy. And then if you know you're gonna keep your car for a long time, an oil change would be good so that you keep the engine out as clean as the engine also as clean as possible. So you can see that the recurring theme here is to keep the car as clean as possible.
When you're
And
talking
then
about
Francis-
changing the oil, how long is the car stored?
Like if you know at least a month, I really suggest changing the oil. Like I'm gonna not be using this car for a month at least. Change the oil already.
Keep in mind also your
Be-
service interval. If you follow your
Mhm.
service interval sa man, I don't think it's gonna be a problem.
Yeah, cause syempre, if you just came from an oil change, don't change the oil
Yeah.
again. It's like
Yeah.
that should be
Well,
fine.
that actually brings up another topic that I don't know we can cover here. When it comes to oil changes and intervals, what's more important, the distance or the time? Because they say 6 months or 1,000 kilometers.
Yeah.
Which one do you follow there? Like, if
Whichever
if it's
hits
been
first,
6 months, but if in a case of a pandemic, you keep it in the garage. So if you say 6 months and your car's been in the garage for 3 months, do you still follow the 6-month rule?
yeah.
Okay, the shop's
Even
going to
if your
say
car,
yes,
even if
whichever
your car's
shorter.
been sitting there. in the garage for
Yeah,
3 months
like
or 4
yeah,
months?
yeah. Then wait, when it hits the 6 months, I would change the oil already.
Even if it's not been used for like
Yes,
4 months.
cause there's condensation, contamination, evaporation. There are a lot of factors that like that's why for me at least personally, whichever hits first. If I hit the kilometers, the mileage first, change oil. If I hit the time span first, I change oil, which is usually 6 months. It's as good
Okay.
as contaminated. And actually, also like quick reminder: if you driven your car overheated, change oil right away as well, because most likely you burned the engine oil. Quick reminder. And then, so after the oil change, another way to store your car, another thing you should do to store your car is fill up the fuel tank. Francis will explain why. Oh yeah.
Yeah, filling up the fuel tank is practical. Not only practical, but also helps in the longevity of your car. Because doing so, keep in mind that today's modern fuel tank, the pump is inside the tank. You call it a submersible pump, because the pump
Mm,
is actually in the gasoline itself. So if you deprive the pump of gasoline, what will happen is rust will form. It might block the injectors, block the filters. So you have to keep the pump submerged in gasoline, which is why you should keep the fuel tank topped up as often as you
yeah.
can.
Okay.
I
Because
learned that the
that's
hard
why it's
way.
called an in-tank fuel tank, because
Yeah,
the fuel pump is submerged in the gasoline itself.
So,
yeah. And yes,
what
yes.
about for people who use their cars with like 1/4 in the fuel gauge all
I
the
guess
time?
I guess 1/4. I guess try to leave it more than half.
More than half is my
More
rule
than
Yeah,
for
half.
that.
yeah, more than
Okay.
half is
Yeah,
Wh-
all
more
right.
than half.
Yeah,
whether or not you use your car daily or stored.
yeah, more
Yeah,
than half, just to keep the fuel pump
yeah,
submerged in a gasoline
yeah.
and prevent
And
condensation and rust from building up
uh,
inside the
actually,
fuel
the
tank.
danger of running the car, like I know there are a lot of car owners there. They like to leave the car like usually at 1/4 below. Like they just fuel when needed. The problem is the upper part of the fuel tank is prone to getting rust, and so
Yeah.
especially on older cars. So like it's like then all of a sudden there's like one day, oh, parang I feel in a good mood. I'll fill up the tank, and then when the fuel rises and hits the top part of the tank where the rust already formed, that's where problems start.
It will clog your
So
fuel filter.
yeah, so rule of thumb for any car, try to keep it above half. So after that, like if you're leaving your car for a long period of time, we suggest don't leave it on parking brake. That's another thing. Francis, explain why.
Yeah, because like for example, you wash your car and then you leave it as is. Chances are the brake pads will stick with the rust. So when it comes time to drive it, you see like it's not like kind of moving. The brakes are stuck, but it's
Yeah.
actually the pads that came in contact with the rust. So you have to like move the car so it will unstick with the rotor discs. So it's
Yeah.
better not to leave the parking brake. Just put it in first gear. Is the rule, or park if you have an automatic, or
Yeah.
if you have wheel
It
chucks,
should be
that's
fine.
good also. Yeah,
Mm. Like if you're manual cars, neutral and then the chucks.
yeah, the chucks. Yeah,
Okay. And then like this is a bit extreme, but if you can, you should put the car on jack stands also. Like if you know if you're gonna leave it for like a month plus, put it on jack stands to preserve the tire.
yeah,
Because what's
exactly.
gonna happen is if you're gonna leave it for a like long period of time on like one spot, you're gonna end up having a flat spot on the tire. Then you're gonna have to replace all four tires. So better to just put it on jack stands and save the cost of replacing all four tires.
Yes.
And then
One thing to note about the jack stands is if you don't know what you're doing, don't do it.
oh yeah, yes, yes.
So if you're going to the extent of putting them on jack stands, get someone who knows what they're doing, because you'd be surprised at the number of times you can get hurt by doing something like that.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's so true. Good,
Yeah,
good,
there are
good
proper
catch.
mounting points specific for each car, so
Yes.
you have
And
to know
they're
where
in
the
the
proper
manual.
mounting points. Yeah,
They're usually and should be on the user manual. And then the favorite part, the after that all that's done, said and done, that's when you could cover the car. Invest on a good car cover. Which
yeah,
reminds
because
me I
there
have
are
to buy one.
waterproof ones. They're even waterproof ones.
Really? How about
Yeah.
dust proof?
Not 100%.
Yeah, not
At least
hundred
they're
percent no.
waterproof. Yeah, but at least
But
they're
the plus side
waterproof.
is like when you remove the cover, just have a feather duster and remove the dust. Should be fine.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there was
also
even like
invest in a good feather duster.
yes.
Yeah.
No, I the one I put on the Legacy is, and I was surprised it's reflective, and there's a point to that because, you're parking this car in a dark outside area, shaded or whatever, and people might not see it. So it's
Yeah.
all these little things.
Yeah. And then if you can, like like the next step and like the last step, like when you can bring it to an auto shop, like we'll go through it quickly. Francis, what are the things that our viewers should do? Like once like the car's moving again and they can bring it to an auto shop, what should they do?
Well, it's all up to the technician as to how he will check it. I mean, brake fluid. Even though your brake fluid might be full, but if it's discolored already, that's already a sign that something's wrong with it. Just
Yeah,
because your
bleed
brake
it.
fluid is full, I mean, doesn't mean it's fine. They have actually ways to test it now. But for me, I look for the color. As long as it's clear and not discolored, it's fine. But the moment it turns dark, there's something wrong with your brake system. And
Yeah.
as a rule of thumb, I think you should change your brake fluid like every year or 2 years anyway. So there.
Yeah.
So there,
So
the
it's
most likely the technician will go through a list of things to check on your car, like the
yeah, they'll
fluids once
inspect
again.
now. Yeah.
They'll inspect. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, those so basically that's the if you're gonna leave your car for a prolonged period of time, like as short as 2 weeks to as long as years, these are the stuff you should be doing. Yeah.
Okay. Well, this all came about basically because I had failures in some of the stuff in my car, and so we figured we'd go through this. And we're both Francis and G are doing something about who actually carries the parts they're supposed to carry. So we're going to be cold calling different brands to see what they keep in stock, and we're kind of surprised at the answers.
Yeah.
And some of them I'm quite disappointed with, to be perfectly honest. But anyway, so we're going to be doing that soon. We're also going to be doing something on car covers. We're going to be doing something, all these little things that we're finding are failure points in a lot of our cars, old and new. In addition, of course, to the regular chats we have. So there. So thank you very, very much for joining us once again. We want everyone to get back on the road. I started getting back on the road, and I'm spending 3 hours a day there now, just driving around by myself in my car, and it's wonderfully liberating. So thank you very, very much, everyone. Please do stay safe. Remember that we are coming off the latest quarantine. That doesn't mean we need to be less adamant about our security processes. Just watch out for yourselves. Let's all be safe. Let's all be well. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. This has been Nix. This has been Francis. This has been G. This has been the masked man, Paolo. This has been Chris and his nice hair. And it's me, Carl. Thank you very, very much for joining us. And we will see you again soon. And we're going to talk about car covers or whatever we're going to talk about. Thank you very, very much. Goodbye.
Bye, guys.
Yeah.